Welcome to episode 26 of Fat Cat Productions, News with a View. A podcast, videocast, whatever you call it, we're doing. Where we take news stories from both spectrums, combine them, check the facts, and then put the spin how one side is spinning it compared to the other. But I will tell you this, I have yet to find, except in opinion pieces, either from the left-leaning or the right-leaning, where the facts are not consistent, that they're absolutely the correct facts. But it's the words after it that make all the difference. So, welcome. My name is John, middle initial A. Costa, an expert in nothing, journalistic endeavors, reading newspaper. But I think all of us who read papers, look at the news, look at facts, can make a pretty good judgment call. And again, if the other team, I'm a Federalist, a Republican, a Constitutionalist, but if the other team makes an absolute valid point or right on target of what they're speaking about, I'm going to say it. And if our team, I don't feel that that is the right thing, or that they're making a bad, they're just really off the page, I'm going to say that. I am not locked in step with anyone. So, all right, today's rundown. Listen, this is late tonight. This is very late. I had things to do like sleeping, taking a lot of medication. Cold is getting a lot better. Should be sniffling like that. Too much, I apologize. There's not much I can do about it, except if you don't hear me. And at this point in time, I don't see the point in punishing America any longer than it needs to be punished. So you'll hear me. All right, February 2nd, 2025, as I said, episode 26. In my report, we'll be talking about the tariff. North Korea soldiers in Russia and what is being reportedly spoken about. The other big news, this is a biggie with me. Elon Musk, Doge. And the lawyers are now lining up for the DC crash. And we'll discuss that and what some of the ramifications can be from President Trump's opinion. So, all right. So, Trump puts tariffs 25%, 10%, blah, 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 on Mexico and Canada, 10% on China. This is his battle that he's having with getting all these people in line, all these countries in line. So, of course, what do? They do the same thing back. What can they do? Mexico probably being in the worst shape to withstand even though they're our biggest partner. Mexico, you think China, we deal, no. It's our southern border that we deal with Mexico the most. Canada, you know, partner, and they're very upset by all this. You know, they have stated that they've always stood by us. They supported us, even when, you know, they didn't think it was the right thing to do. They supported us, and they were there with us, you know, through thick and thin, which, they have been. I'm not going to deny that fact. You know, every country is going to have disagreements with their friends. So it happens. So this is really going to get short-lived nasty, because what Trump is really hoping for is that before the supply line starts choking up, we'll come to some type of conclusion real quick, and it's settlement, and everything will be back to normal. And that's the position China's taking too. China's taking the position that, hey, you know, all right, we see what's going on here, and we're going to sit back and hope that we can work this all out. Whereas, you know, Trump is saying, excuse me, that it's the fentanyl and it's the cartels in Mexico that needs to be put under control. And, you know, then we'll talk. And Mexico saying, hey, it's your people buying this stuff. You know? And the same thing with, you know, a Wall Street Journal report that came out, you know, where, hey, there's nothing we can do about drugs and what's going on. No one can stop it. Canada can't stop it. Mexico can't stop it. The United States can't stop it. So, you know, what can you do? I think Trump is saying what he can do. So I think he is using a big stick here. And it's a very dangerous stick to use. You know, I don't think that, sorry, I'm just juggling my paperwork around. Yeah. If this is not fixed right away, you will definitely see a spike in inflation. And it'll be hard for him to say, hey, you know, I came in here and I said I was going to lower prices, I was going to do stuff. But, you know, Trump is going to take a factual road and go, hey, I inherited this crap. And this is part of the problem of fix it. Sometimes when you're fixing something, you got to break it and replace it. Yeah. So, and, you know, a lot of economics around the world are saying that, you know, Trump is throwing the whole thing into turmoil. We just are coming out of COVID, you know, whatever. But, you know, they're saying we're just recovering from this and now this. You know, does it have to be? So, you know, and what Trump is doing is he's setting a scale. He says this is a mechanical response to their tariffs, and it just goes up. You know, an escalator. And, you know, escalators go up, escalators go down. So, you know, Canada's very upset by it, and I don't blame them. I don't blame Canada for being upset. It's just it's just a tool in the tool bag to use, but really, you got to be careful when you use tools too, you know. So, and you know, of course, Mexico. Sheinbaum, you know, wrote that she had instructed her economy secretary to implement a response that includes retaliatory tariffs and other measures in defense of Mexico's interests. Yeah, of course. What's she going to do? You know, go, okay, you win. And she came out and said if the United States wants to deal with the response to fentanyl consumption, they should fight the sales in their country of it. And yeah, yeah. But when you have states that openly allow drugs, that makes it a little hard. You know? When you have governments saying, well, we're going to supply you with drugs. And you have governments inside the United States that will supply people with drugs with this idea, well, it's safety in mind because, they're knowing what they're getting. Mm-hmm. I mean, kind of makes sense, but wouldn't you treat the illness? You know, would you give someone more AIDS? How about treating the illness? And you treat the illness by mandatory confinement. That's how you do it. And if the people don't want, to get fixed, just like we knew these drugs were good for you, we know how to clean you up. I know that sounds harsh and I know that sounds silly and, you can't fix someone that doesn't want to be fixed. But if they don't know they're broke, that they're broken, are they going to make the right decision? You think so? I don't think so. So, and, China said they're going to take their legitimate concerns and do everything in their legal process to combat this latest escalation of economic tensions. So, and China was the biggest supplier of fentanyl, and in I think 2019, maybe 2018, they agreed we're going to stop selling the products where they were selling, the how-to kits, all the chemicals needed. Well, they might not have been mixing it all together, but, they had the little thing on how to do it. So, these tariffs will go into effect on Tuesday. Yale analysts said that, would lose the equivalent of about $1,100 per household due to the added tariffs, because that just gets passed along. So, and the Wall Street Journal, like I said, exorbitant pricing for import and exports would urge neighboring governments to stem the flow of illicit drugs. And they said, well, neither country can stop it. So, well, what do? Nothing. You just say, oh, well, we tried. No. So, Wall Street Journal. We know why you are against this. Wall Street Journal. But I think the guise of using fentanyl and all that, it's a good cause, and it's a rally point, and you can make that point. It's factual, and I said it's hard to. You can't fight facts. Facts are facts. But if that's the real case, if that is the real case, if President Trump said this is about drugs, this is about, our citizens dying at their hands, Well, they're not dying at their hands. They're dying because we're not arresting people here and fulfilling the obligation of following the law. And we don't do that because when we do it, then they go, you're targeting our neighborhood. You know, you're coming into my neighborhood and doing this because we're the easiest people to get to. Right? We hear that all the time. So, we'll see what happens. I think this is going to be short-lived. I think they're going to come to some type of resolution in the next 2 weeks. And there'll be some type of wiggle room for all the parties involved here. The thing I will be reporting on tomorrow is Marco Rubio in Panama. Now, little blurb out of the Ukraine that North Korea troops appear to have been pulled from frontline duties because of the high casualty losses that they're suffering. And they're being sent back for more training and, if all these numbers are correct, and you just can't believe these numbers. Every day they're talking, 10,000 casualties on the Russian side, and 100 casualties on the other side. I don't know. We don't know. But there has been pretty solid proof from both defense departments, United States, British, South Korean, that of the 11,000 troops that North Korea has sent to aid Russia. Now remember, I don't think these troops are actually crossed the line into the Ukraine. That this self-defense pact that they have between Russia and North Korea is to protect the sovereignty of each country. So I don't know yet if they've crossed into the Ukraine because that would be offensive. Right now they're defensive to push the Ukraine out of Russia and reclaim Russian property. So, but the losses that the North Koreans are said to have suffered is 1/3. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. So they might be saying, yeah, okay, we got to look at this. We'll keep them there. We'll do it, but we have to get these numbers down a little bit. And and in Ukrainian special force units fighting in the Kursk region, and that's Russia. They remember the Ukrainians actually penetrated Russian Russian borders. First time since World War II that has happened. And they said they haven't seen any North Koreans around, for the last couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So maybe they're just getting better. Who knows? All right, we're going to go to my latest. And like I said, when I have problems with the administration, my guys, I'm going to say something. I've never been one to turn a blind eye. I might not make it. I didn't make it public then. It'd be behind a closed door going, hey, I think you stepped over too far here. But I'll say it. And here, this is the public. Because we are all in this together. Musk and Doge. All right. Seems there's already been a confrontation. On Friday, seems that I don't even know if you can call it Department of Government Efficient. Is it a department? It's not an official office. It might be a committee, a special presidential committee set up too, but they have no power. No one has given these people, the power. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, they don't have a seat at the table. They might be invited to sit at the table when a chair is made available to them, but they don't have a seat at it. So they seem to have gone to an office and the U.S. Department of International Development, USAIDs. That's what it stands for. And when they went in, at first, the Doge staffers were denied entry by building security. They said, I don't know who you are. You're not on a list. We're not letting you in. Little brouhaha. He goes, hey, we'll call the U.S. Marshal Office. And then we'll see who comes in here. So what they did is they said, fine. I guess they made phone calls and they let these guys in. And that was at the Ronald Reagan building. And ain't that funny? In Washington, D.C. It's unclear, like I said, whether they have the legal authority to make these types of entries, to have that type of control. I don't think so. I mean, could the president deputize? I mean, this is the problem. This is where, I said, I'm still looking in books and I'm still trying to see if anything can point to it, which, I mean, yes, in the end, the president probably could. But, yeah, I think Congress is the ones that fund everything. And, how are you funding that? And you can't take funds from one appropriated funding source and use it somewhere else. And well, I'm going to take it, and I'm just using this as an example because it's something every one of us can recognize. I got money from FEMA. I'm going to take $6 million from FEMA, and I'm going to move it over to Doge so that they could get new drapes and, cars and whatever they need to do my business. Can't do that. Can't do that. It's misappropriation of funds. So how are they operating? Under the terms of efficiency in the government? Or, I mean, what was the GOA office, the government administration or whatever, and they got rid of that and then made something else. And, it changes like the flavor of the day. But I don't like these quasi government non-agencies acting like a government agency with authority. That is dangerous. We don't do that. We have rules, and this is where I strongly disagree with President Trump. And yes, it will cause turmoil and in the beginning until they can figure it out. But wouldn't you have had this whole stuff figured out already? I'm just saying, I came from an engineering background, so I'm a person that starts at A and you go to B and then you go to C, and there's a progression how you get to the end of your formula. I don't see it. And just, running and flailing your arms and doing that, no, no. And that's not taking up a liberal stance or saying, well, got to agree with the liberals on this. No, that's just common sense. And I said common sense. And what do I say about common sense? My common sense might not be your common sense. Your common sense might not be mine. But if you take facts and apply it to common sense, guess what happens? You'll find an answer. You might not always like the answer you find, but there is one. And in this case, I want to know what authority they have. And if I were the heads of these department agencies, darn well, I'd be pushing right up that ladder to go, you got to find out. Because if I don't run this agency, and I got someone looking over my shoulder telling me, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That shouldn't be looking over my shoulder and doing that. Then you don't have a head of the department anymore. Someone's above him. Now, everyone in government, there's someone above him. But you know who that person is. And you know exactly how far that person or that department or that agency can lean on your neck. In this case, we don't. Bad business. So, and you have Musk going in there saying the U.S. aid, which is a agency that just shills money out the door. I mean, honestly, you think that's U.S. aid here? No, that's not U.S. aid here. That's going out all over the place. And Musk has said it's a criminal organization. And it was started by some bad people. And it's time for it to die. That's powerful words. And if that's the case, if this is a criminal organization, where was our FBI? Our NSA? If this money's going overseas, CIA has to know about it. And a lot of other programs that you don't even know the little three-letter words of. So it could be that this is a plan to expose it all without having governmental fingerprints on it or something. I don't know. I'm not a smart man, but I do know what I see, and I do know what I read. And these type of things, I don't like. I don't like. So, and X, when shown Musk's post on targeting the U.S. aid, a senior official for the agency told ABC News, the warp speed of this mafia, I'm just salivating, I'm laughing. The warp speed of this mafia-like takeover has shaken USAID staff to the core. Yeah, well, yeah. We're not criminals. We are the Republican senators like Senator Graham. Yeah, Lindsey Graham. We got a problem with you too. So you are something else. So this will all be taken up, I'm sure, in the upcoming weeks, and we will hear more about this subject that has the old fat cat upset. And upset at my own people. And, you want transparency. I want transparency too. So, Bobby, I think you and I have agreed on probably a couple of things if you're looking at this. Probably more than you thought that I would say. But when I'm with you, I just want to hit you with beer bottle caps. I'd like to see those red marks and you ducking. I miss those days. Bob and I solved all the world's problems in his living room. Couple of 6-packs of beer, his vodka, my whiskey. By the end of the night, we're saying we should write this stuff down. We just like we found a cure. And then the next morning we woke up and go, what the hell were we talking about? What happened in the living room last night? All right, let's go on. The lawyers lining up. DC crash. It didn't take long, and that's what they do for we call them vultures. They see themselves as knights in shining armor, fighting for their victims and their families. That's all right. I get it. But what is now an interesting spin on this, and again, my guy coming up and, using DEI and, the Army and everything. And I mean, almost the night of the crash, pointing at, they can't drive cars and we're letting them fly, So, I mean, it's that becomes litigation. And they'll say, when the President of the United States say that they're not hiring the right people and that he can look because he has common sense that other people do not, and we agree with him. How could this have happened, Again, like I say, words matter, and you weren't going to be able to shut him up about it. And I think this is what, we knew. I mean, I knew when I voted for him. Not going to say, I didn't know he was going to do this. Of course I knew he was going to do this. That's why I started this podcast. Just to say, there are people out here that want accountability. We are not just going to follow him or anyone. Never have, never will. Off the cliff. Not doing it. Ain't happening. Remember that, boys? Some of those guys that were with me? Ain't happening. So, now, kind of, you're going to have the FAA, NTSB, Department of Defense, DEI, the families, all up in arms. Because you will have people who say that maybe it was DEI. And now, again, I don't know. I know that, they go, oh, well, she had 500 hours of flight time. Let me tell you, as a pilot, 500 hours is nothing. But the only way you get those hours is you got to go out and doing exactly what she was doing, what they were being trained to do. You have to pick up real time experience. You know, so and real world experience. Those helicopter pilots might have had to fly rescue missions in and out of those areas to perform their job. And the only way they can do it is unfortunately like they did it. And, you know, it's easy for me sitting on this nice couch, you know, to say that, but these are things that have to get done. It's just a fact of our life and in the world that we now do live in. But the public comments made by President Trump, it could move, instead of making these families wait 8 years for a settlement, all the insurance companies and everyone involved with it might just go, have them all sit down, and there's some very powerful legal representations that these people are getting. Maybe they open up the checkbook sooner. Add a little bit more to it. And again, sometimes it's just best to, get it off the books. Just get it done with. Admit it. If that was the case, we don't even really know. To me, the 2 points of contention here was, did they have the altimeter set right? Either plane, did they have their altimeter set right? And by setting their altimeter correctly, both aircraft would be on the equal playing ground of barometric pressure, and they know their altitude. Now, that altitude gets recorded and then sent out to a transponder to the air traffic controller. So the air traffic controller might see that altimeter reading is 300 feet below the aircraft, or above the aircraft. I think they were below, going to go below. And then the TCAS warning came up, and even in that closer proximity, there should have been alarms going all over the place, but the fact that both pilots weren't on the same communication, though they were being communicated with, they knew, see and be seen, and confirm what you see. But at night, over water, with all those background lights, you'd never pick up the strobe of that airplane coming in. And it depends on what garb the military people had. You had 2 pilots, they're flying. And then you had a crew chief. Normally you'd have another crew chief. You'd have the one on the other side, and they'd be looking, flying straight. They'd be looking at the port. The other guy would be looking at the starboard side. And so, and we don't know. There's just not enough information out there yet. We can look, and you could probably make a pretty good conversation and point to say that it was a helicopter. But in the end, they're going to say, hey, the pilot's in charge. At the end of the day, you be the person. And with everything that was going on, the pilots of the American Airlines could have always said, hey, this is getting too soupy here. We're going to do a missed approach. We're going to go up, take us back up, send us around the area again, and, we'll line back up when it's not too crazy here. But you're a pilot. You're there to make decisions. You're flying. Everything looks good. We seem to have it under control. So I don't want to say anything, bad about it, but uh, I think the helicopter pilot messed up, and not because of uh, well, I don't know. I can't say that. But I'm just going to put this out here because there was all talks about her being a lesbian and whatever. Just so you know, um, lesbians can fly planes or helicopters. You know, they might not be able to carry a 240-pound man down the stairs, but I guarantee you, with the proper training, the proper skills and abilities, a lesbian, a gay person, a straight person, yeah, they can fly a helicopter. All right, so we're going to move on from that because this is just going to be popping up all over the place. And, they said lawsuits are going to be popping up all over the place. And they might even have to call the president in at one point to say what he knew. It's a civil matter. They can do that. So, they'll go to post most important things. I'll guarantee you will be qualification and training. That's what they're going to hit everyone up there, even the American Airlines people. So we'll see what happens with that. I had pages and pages, but you don't want to hear this crap. And what happened with the air medical flight, in Philadelphia, I haven't even really heard any of anything on that. The aircraft, I didn't look up the history yet on the aircraft to see, because it's a Mexican registry. It's going to be hard to get that information. Or I've never looked. I've always looked, put the tail number of an aircraft in, and you can pull up its history. That is with the FAA. Whether that plane had problems before, control issues or engines issues, or was it due? Was it when it would land in Mexico, did it have to go through 100-hour breakdown and look at? Don't know. I don't know what the pilot's experience were. Don't know. Just know from those pictures, man. That thing came down like a rocket. So, that is what is going on today. There's little stuff going on. Like I said, Marco Rubio talking to Panama, talking about Greenland, or, about Newfoundland, or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I know Trump loves real estate, but throw out a number. Who knows? Who knows? I'm sure the people that live there should have some type of choice. But, and does this just make fun news and good news and, something to joke about? Don't know. Don't know. What do you think? You think Trump's going to be buying up these countries? I mean, we're going to move all the immigrants there? I don't know. What are you going to do? And what was the other thing he wanted to do? Well, I know he wants to send them all to Guantanamo. I think it's a horrible idea. Horrible. Waste of money. Waste of time. It's just not a good idea. And I understand he wants them out of sight, out of mind. It's not like you know, time to go to Guantanamo. You know, we're not in a real fighting type of problem with Cuba. Let me tell you how close that airspace is over there towards Guantanamo. You go out of that airspace and, not have a good reason. And our airlines fly over Cuba, and they do that through international airspace rules and stuff. And in an emergency, a plane can land in Havana with no problem. They're not going to say, no, you can't land here. But a military, mostly with Guantanamo, that's a red line over there. They take that very serious, and you want to be careful. I don't see having 50 planes a day landing there. Something bad's bound to happen, and there's no need for it. And with that, I think I'm done. I read through some stuff on online. There's just so much flying around, and tomorrow should be interesting. Tuesday should be interesting. And like I said, I'm not locked in step. I want things done. I want to hear the rest of the confirmation hearings. They beat up Bobby Kennedy pretty good. I didn't think that he'd get as much heat. I knew Patel would, Cash Patel would. But like I said, there's only 8 people out of his committees that have made the leap. And I was looking up, I go, how long can these hearings be pushed out to? And it's not long, folks. It was at some point, if they don't do it, the president's just going to go, he's in. I gave you your chance. You refused to vote. I'll line all my guys up and we'll vote. There you go. Done. No more hearings. It's over. Done talking. Vote. And we'll see what happens. Where's my guys? I see 53. Don't take the little thing. We know what they're doing. So, they got to realize, too, 99% of these people are getting in, if not 100%. And you're going to have to live with them for a while. And you could ask the tough questions because that is your job to do that. I get it. White House, you're a nut. Get help out of Rhode Island. For the love of God, Massachusetts, tell Warren it's time. It's time. Time for her to go. Some of these people just asked, they made your party look foolish. Now I know our guys were going to go and ask, like I said the other day, so your stance on vanilla ice cream, right? How is that different from chocolate? Oh, okay, yeah, good. We knew it. We knew what our guys were going to, ask. And there were going to be softball questions. Maybe a couple have asked some good questions that, both of them can answer and sound good, and it sounds, hey, I asked him a tough question. He answered it. And of course, they all meet beforehand, so they basically know what they're walking into. Let's get the show moving. Got a country to run here. And I'm not saying push these guys through. We'd never tell you to do that. Just try to be as fair and honest as you can be. And, love Bernie Sanders, hate Bernie Sanders. He does ask good questions because he's not afraid. He's hated by his own people. He's hated by our people. I mean, he knows what he's dealing with. I don't like his politics, but it's being a guy that's going to ask a question. Good question. Good questions. The answers are there. I'm not afraid of Bobby Kennedy. I think Bobby Kennedy will serve a purpose. I just don't know how long Bobby Kennedy could take Donald Trump. And vice versa. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Kash Patel, great guy. Great guy. We need him. Need him. Pete, as head of the Defense Department, I said that was one I was a little leery on. I mean, the guy, yeah, okay. I don't know. But wouldn't have been my first pick. Wouldn't have been my first pick. And even for Attorney General, I wouldn't. I mean, Pam Bundy, I understand. She's very good. And I know why he didn't pick Senator Cruz. He's saving him for one of the robes. Yep. Ted Cruz. If a robe becomes available, he'll be there, folks. And then you want to hear the crying and the screaming. All right. With that, as always, God bless. Think about all our victims and those facing a horrible, future without loved ones. Help when you can. Give to a charity. Register charity. Those charities won't come to you. You must go to those charities. Do not become a victim helping a victim. And with that, I'm going to say good night. I'll see you tomorrow. And as I fade to black,